Welcome to the Pourin Into Me podcast. I am Danielle Beal, an artist. I create with my words, qualified mental health professional, licensed minister, and certified life coach. The Pourin Into Me podcast is a sacred space for Black women where we will have brave conversations to destigmatize mental health and encourage Black women to be intentional about self-care. I know we often hear with much emphasis that these conversations are uncomfortable, but I don't want to perpetuate that belief that talking about mental health is uncomfortable. I want to liberate us by reframing how we view mental health and conversations surrounding it. While the focus of this podcast is Black women, there will also be conversations about HBCU students and mental health and the Black church and mental health. And at the beginning of each episode, we will have an intentional sacred pause where we will take 60 seconds to check in with ourselves and our bodies. Someone may be wondering, well, why is the focus on Black women? Well, for starters, hello, I am a Black woman. And when you look at the Black church, who is the majority? Black women. When you see social injustices happening to the Black community, who is typically on the front lines? Don't worry, I'll wait. Black women. Who is the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs? Black women. Who is expected to be resilient and strong, yet nurturing, being the backbones of their families? Black women. Who is often the least protected? Might I say Black women? So I'm unapologetic about this sacred space being for Black women. If we don't create something for us, then who will? And you may want to know, how can you talk about mental health? Well, don't worry. I'll let you know my credentials. So your girl has a background in mental health, academically, a Black woman and her degrees, a Black woman and her degrees, and professionally. A few years ago, I worked with the Mental Health Agency as a mental health counselor, providing mental health skill building to clients in their homes. I also bring with me my experiences as it relates to mental health and mental illness. I had to let y'all know I will not be pulling the things that I share out of thin air. I can back it up in more ways than one, okay? All right? Period. So why mental health? Well, I'm going to share my heart with y'all. When I was 15 years old, my best friend unexpectedly died by a massive heart attack. She was 15 years old too. And it shook my teenage world upside down. I had no idea that the feelings that I felt had a name, like anxiety, depression, grief, and trauma. At the time, I was literally just focused on making it through each day and getting to graduation. That's it. And so I often found solace in writing, and my writings became very dark. And so I always wondered, am I the only one who has ever felt this way before? Even if we've had different experiences? And so from there, that grew my passion for understanding mental health, because understanding mental health was understanding me. And so mental health was not something that was talked about like it is now. And so again, I was not knowledgeable nor aware of mental health. And I was just trying to process my feelings. And so I went on to college and majored in psychology because again, I wanted to learn more about myself, my family, about family dynamics, about friendship dynamics, about human behavior, about all of these things and how we operate in the world. And so ultimately, my passion for mental health grew out of my experiences. And I also had a friend unexpectedly die by suicide in 2017. And so once again, that kind of added to that passion that was already there. And so I really pray that this podcast encourages Black women and whomever comes across it. I hope that it expands perspectives, deepens critical thinking, leads to self-reflection, dismantles stigmas, and promotes self-care and lifestyle changes. As Black women, we have been taught how to nurture, show up, and love on everyone but ourselves, and that must change. While this podcast is no substitute for therapy, I believe that the conversations can and will be therapeutic. If trauma and operating on survival mode can be passed down, then come on now, I truly believe that healing and thriving can be passed down too. We will discuss barriers, resources, how cultural competence is vital in mental health treatment and diagnosis, accessibility, our stories, and lean on the experiences of others. There will also be conversations about how stigmas play a part in impacting our mental health. Stigmas like, just pray it away. You don't need therapy, you need Jesus. Stereotypes, gender roles, the strong Black woman myth, my Lord, microaggressions, and how all of these things impact our mental health. We'll also talk about the stressors of Black women, setting boundaries, Black women and anxiety and depression. We don't even talk about relationships and this false sense of loyalty and romanticizing suffering, thinking that we must suffer for everything, like that is a prerequisite, and it's not, sis. And so I truly believe that sometimes people are suffering silently as it relates to their mental health because they are unaware of the resources available, do not have access to them, or are ashamed to reach out for help due to stigmas. So if you live in a state and know of mental health services, please share that information with me. I'd love to post it on my website to broaden our Black mental health resource network. In this space, Black woman, may you give yourself permission to exhale. Like the feeling that you get when you take off your bra at the end of the day, like, I know I'm not by myself. Like, yes, I want you to feel that in this space, Black woman. May this space be a relief, and may you give yourself permission to be. So join us second and fourth Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tap, tap, tap in. Hey, tap, tap, tap in. Black woman, you are worthy of being poured into. May our cups overflow.